Welcome to our second video in a two-part series about how to use Instagram to build a following with AI-generated art. We talked about actually using AI, and now we're gonna dive into Instagram. If you check out the Kettlebell on the Brain Instagram account, what you'll notice is really consistent art. If you look at the timestamps, you'll also see that each post was about a day or so apart. But that's not where I started. At the very beginning, to start to build some momentum, I dropped a series of photos in rapid succession to give myself a good base. And once I had a number of photos in place, I then started following. There's nothing worse than showing up and not seeing something that's cool, that's of value, and that helps establish the vibe that you're going for. So I dropped a few photos so that people could start to get a sense, not just of where we're starting, but where I want to head. As I was thinking about different things to post, I was really trying to align with things like the holidays, current events. I even looked up obscure pop culture holidays and historical figures and all those kind of things to give me ideas in hopes of matching popular hashtags, trending topics, seasonal concepts with the content that I was creating. Then I went to Google. Believe it or not, Google is an incredible tool for sourcing accounts to follow on Instagram. You'll notice if you search Kettlebell Instagram, Google just lines up account after account that you can begin to follow, page after page of that. You can go a level deeper. So as you're immersing yourself in a world like kettlebell and fitness, what you can count on is for every account to also have coaches. And so Kettlebell Coach now brings up a ton of other accounts. And for each one, I would open them in a tab, as you can see me doing here. And then I would go follow for each of them. Heads up. If you start following too much in rapid succession, Instagram will flag this behavior, especially on a new account. So I did a lot of work in opening the tabs and getting things prepped. And then I tried to take it nice and easy, doing a lot of the following behavior, starting to mix in posting behavior with following behavior, because there were a couple of times I almost got my new account blocked because I was just moving way too fast. Instagram even told me that the behavior was not in line with how humans normally act. And so that was starting to get flagged, which was my cue to back off just a little bit, but I started to do more research and putting together the Google keywords that I could search. So as you go a level deeper, you can see Kettlebell Athlete Instagram pulls up specific athletes and people with athlete in their title. And then I also found pretty quickly kettlebell juggling. There are people who will throw kettlebells in the air, juggling them in order to get a workout. So I started to understand more of the keywords from this world. Once I had that lined up, and at this point I had hundreds of browser tabs queued up, looking at all these different accounts, I started to engage. I started to follow their accounts. I started to like their stuff, all the while having a few of my own kettlebell posts that had been queued up. Pretty soon, some followers started to roll in, and then I began the work of posting at first a few kettlebells each day. I wanted to build a nice backlog, get my grid going so that when somebody came to my account, because perhaps they saw a comment or a new follow and wanted to learn more, that there was something of interest for them to look at. All right, so I've covered using Google for keywords around different Instagram accounts, following, engaging those profiles very early on, setting a nice foundation of activity on our profile. But now, how do you keep the momentum rolling? One thing that people love is nostalgia, and combining nostalgia with other things they enjoy is a surefire way to start to get some attention. And so kettlebell after kettlebell, I was now creating art that seemed to align with the community and the unique interests that popped up. One thing that became clear very early was mixed martial arts, MMA, and its overlap with kettlebell and functional training. What you can see here is there's a lot of activity on my Jiu-Jitsu gi kettlebell. From here, you can take it one level further. As I noticed an interest from the community and people responding to certain types of artwork, I would then start to tag other people from those crossover communities. So we have the world of kettlebell and we have the world of jiu-jitsu. And as I started to lean in, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I know a couple of figures from the jiu-jitsu community who may find this post interesting. I did an entire Inspired By series, in this case, tagging Jocko Willink, who is well known within the military community, within the MMA community, within the early riser community, all of those things. There's a ton of overlap, and followers of kettlebells also tend to have a very strong overlap with Jocko. And so I created a kettlebell with a jujitsu gi that was inspired by him tagging his account. Now, in this case, I didn't get any shares or follows or mentions by Jocko. However, there were a number of other online creators who I started to get their attention. One of which is an incredible ultra endurance athlete. Her name is Sally McRae. And here you can see a special tribute. Her mantra is to choose strong. And she had completed a pretty massive feat, winning the Grand Slam of ultra marathon 200-mile races. And so I created a special tribute kettlebell for Sally McRae. To my surprise, I woke up to a DM commending the kettlebell and asking for a large high-res image, which I was super pumped to be able to share with her. I also got a tag in some of her stories. What an awesome day in the world of kettlebells. So finding other interests, finding other creators online who overlap in these very unique ways is one way of starting to get more attention, getting more shares and more activity on each post. All right, on the topic of building this Instagram account, we've talked about putting baseline artwork in place, following related accounts, engaging those different accounts, commenting on their activity, liking their stuff, and then putting together tribute pieces that are actually tagging those individuals in our content, getting reshares, and keeping that flywheel of attention and engagement going, and really leaning in more and more to the type of stuff that is getting more and more engagement. A couple of examples of things that I did. I had an entire series just for Christmas. Here, this is actually the kettlebell that started it all, Santa Claus. Thank you very much, you bearded genius, you. And then I also did things for the NCAA playoffs and championship games. So here you can see football with UGA Bulldogs. I also had friends who I knew loved the Georgia Bulldogs. And so in this case, I would actually reach out to them with a direct link. My ritual every day was simple. Upload an image, put a quick tagline or caption on that image, post it, and then share that post into my stories. One thing I wish I had done a better job of early was taking those stories and creating highlights. I also think there was a lot of missed opportunity in creating reels. Every piece of content I created was a single flat image where I could have made more interactive video content, which would have fed the algorithm exactly what it wanted. About halfway through this experiment, I noticed something was missing. If this is art, then what do you expect to see? That's right, an autograph from the artist. And so I started to add a signature to the bottom of each piece of artwork. And as we zoom in here, what you'll notice is it's the letters K and B, which stands for kettlebell. But if you look a little bit closer, what you'll also see is a stick figure who is swinging, that's right, a kettlebell. Ironically, this was created by me, by hand, and then transferred into Photoshop, edited into something that I could layer over every image that was created. I find it pretty funny that the most human designed element in all of this was the autograph that typically would belong to the person who created the original art, but doing the best with what I got over here. So I started adding that to the images about halfway through the process, and you can see it start to pop up. So what you'll notice is things changed and improved over time. The style started to get more consistent, the use of colors, the autograph, all of those things. And that aligns with something I hold very dear, which is iterating, just getting started. Rapid progress over perfection. Perfect is the enemy of done. And so as I got rolling, I was learning and I was changing and editing and improving. That is something that I encourage you to do if you're going to try this out. Don't wait until you have all of the ideas put together. As you get started, drip by drip, you start to learn more and notice areas that you want to improve and level up, which is part of what made this an excellent experiment. I learned a ton about Instagram, about all of the edges of what's possible today with generative AI, and it gave me a really cool library of artwork that I can point people to and showcase some of my skills. Now, one of the last things that I'm super pleased by is this artwork behind me. I took my favorite kettlebell and I got it printed on a poster. I actually went in and created an entire store on Printify, and I set it up with posters and started to work on coffee mugs before I took a moment and said, wait a minute, what is this for? And the experiment was to start to learn more about the limits of generative AI, to learn some fun stuff about Instagram. And at this point, that's where the story ends for Kettlebell on the Brain Instagram account. I would encourage you to go check it out. If you use generative AI to create an Instagram account of some sort, shoot me a DM. I'd love to check it out. I'd love to give you a share and see what you've got going on. All right, there you have it. That's a wrap on Kettlebell on the Brain Instagram account using generative AI to build an Instagram following of over 3,000 followers in just a few days. I hope you'll take this as some encouragement to go try this yourself. The world of generative AI is changing quickly. So much is possible that was not possible before. This was one person, a few minutes a day, chipping away at doing something that is a mix of artistic and fun and bringing people together. And now it's your turn.